Hey everybody, welcome to an Arkham Horror video that came from a comment that somebody left on the channel from our How to Win Understanding Deck Upgrading video that was asked, because we said in the video, don't cut your economy. And then someone commented and asked, how much economy do you put in your deck? And that's not really a question that's like easy to answer. It's, yeah. Like a chunk of your deck, a section of your deck, you should be focused on your economy, both resources and cards. And it was an answer that we couldn't just like respond to in that comment. So instead, we're doing that in a video today, where the three of us are each going to build a deck, and it's going to you'll see kind of just like how we thought process our economy for it. I'm going to be starting because mine is the easiest. We have.
That's not why.
Why?
Well, you asked us who was going to go, and we were like, you.
All right, that's fair too. Mine is going to be the quickest for this because we're just going to be building like a Silas Marsh, probably maybe a Dark Horse deck. We're going to kind of see as it goes, because with Silas.
Ray, would you like to put Pete in there too?
No,
No.
because I'm going to be upgrading into probably Granny for this Dark Horse deck because I get a little bit of everything. But I mean, like, the point of this is to, even though he's being a little bit, bitter, sarcastic, the point of this is we're going to be building the decks that, like, we play to kind of just show we all do different things, like, with this. So, for Silas, even if we're not going Dark Horse, you don't really need much that is going to be going through here. So I'm just going to grab the things that I know we're going to be playing, which are the few of these good cards.
Yeah, I got the Cherished Keepsake for Brain Soak. We got the Luckies for not failing. We got the Scrounge for supplies for getting stuff back. And Resourceful also for getting things back, but a skill for Silas.
All right, let's just see what else if we want to play. I always forget the name of it. Steadfast is also just like a really good card for Silas that we got here. And we haven't even like gotten into...
Daring can also be pretty solid as an option, but...
Yeah, Daring it is also really nice for him. That's usually one that I see as everything else shapes up. Defiance and Fearless I think are more cute than they are good for Silas. Yep. Opportunist is good for me when you get to the level 2. I don't like the placeholders. I don't like to use these as placeholders in my deck for Silas though.
They are real bad.
What about Quick Thinking?
I do like Quick Thinking. It's not one that I go into when I'm just kind of like, when I'm just starting. So I'm just like going through to see if any of these are where we want to start, and I think we're actually pretty happy with some of these. We're just going to grab an Overpower because we have to fight, and an Unexpected Courage.
Well, we did list Quick Thinking as a card that you need a reason not to play, so what is your reason for not playing it?
I don't want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's a valid reason.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. If I had to give an actual reason for it, let's look at it. Quick Thinking.
See by turn more. Gives you +1.
Because... for the majority of my skills with this deck, I'm actually looking at keeping them in my hand, and I need this one to resolve. So like the longer I can keep skills in my hand, so the things that don't actually do anything, they're just here for me to recur with my Sea Change Harpoon, apart from something like Resourceful. And that's why something like the Opportunist level 2s are really good, because then you can just keep them and then succeed, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we need an ally. You always need an ally for this, and we could just go with the standard Pete Sylvester, which puts your foot up to 4, but I don't think Evade Silas is the best thing you can be doing. Madame Lebranche, she's good because she's cheap and she soaks a lot. I think actually something like Granny Orn is a lot more appealing for Silas. You get the brain thing, which is nice for Pete. The book doesn't really matter, but having half a lucky on like every test you do is really nice.
Well, even having 3 book on the upgrade one means you can pick up something like
Sharp Vision.
Sharp Vision, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can like do not punch things.
Yeah, but I'm building the Silas with the idea of being
It's fine.
puncher.
Just providing.
All right, we'll get Granny Orn in here because that's what we're going to be doing. This one isn't great, as good as the other ones, but still just like,
Or read
Yeah,
it.
believe
It's
it or
very
not, the one
expensive.
that costs XP is better.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it isn't.
Okay, for the weapons, we're going to grab, we could do fire axes, but I think we're not going to go to it. We're just going to actually kind of like do exactly what I did last time, which is going to be a 1 of baseball ball bat and 2 of these derringers. These just work like you want your Sea Change Harpoon. That's like the weapon you want with Silas because it's good. The question is, as we're building this deck, especially when we get to the economy side of it, is how many times are we realistically like picking up this harpoon and then stabbing with it again? When we did a recent run, I didn't do it once.
Yeah, like maybe once in a
Yeah, it really depends what type of skills you're playing that you can commit. Quick thinking is really good with this if you're going to try to pick it up. Because you can commit like a quick thinking and some other things to your combat check, and then when you pass by 2 or more, you can pick up the Sea Change Harpoon to be able to just
get them all back.
Yeah,
and to take the extra action anyway.
And if you are planning on doing that, that's not what I'm going to be doing with this deck, but that's going to need even more economy. So that's like when we say like it's kind of like how much you need. It really depends on stuff like that.
This deck is going to need a lot more economy on the side of cards in hand.
Yes.
It's going to need a lot more card draw than it
And like there's a very easy solution that we don't get in the level 0 deck, but this card is going to solve that problem for you. Like this card is just
all you need.
is just busted.
Yeah.
All right. So going with Travis said, like realistically, once a scenario,
Maybe.
perfect world. But more often than not, you're probably like you don't like the only time you really want to do it is like if you have something like quick thinking or resourceful is also nice to then bring back.
I think maybe a better way to look at it is like how many weapons are you going to play through the scenario?
Yes.
Which is probably like 2, maybe 3.
All right, so when we're just starting out, if I'm looking at actually getting my, we're going to run emergency cash for our money, and then the other one, which is a really easy inclusion, is going to be a take heart. And in this deck, that's all I'd put in here. There might be a worth to do more because Granny Orn is a bit expensive. She does cost a lot of money.
You also don't have a ton of options for Survivor, though.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like one of those things where like even like realistically, like because Granny Orn level 2, she also costs 4, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. She's like a lot more worth the price. You could. This is actually something I've done in the recent 2 Silas builds I've done. You just put Madame Lebranche in as the starting one. It keeps your curve a little bit lower, and she soaks for you. So, like, if you're going into Granny Orn, you don't need to run level 4. You could just run Madame Lebranche and then upgrade out of her.
Yeah. If you're playing a suite of assets that look more or less like this, assets and events that kind of look like this, you probably don't actually need the emergency cash, because in order for you to like fully assemble your machine, you're going to need about 6 resources. And that's just turn 2. It just happens. Right?
The only thing, another thing to be aware of, going off that too, is with Silas, sometimes you might need money for Siren's Call. So like that's kind of like where a little bit more comes in. Having a little bit extra is good, but you also don't want to like there was a time where I paid like 6 total into this, and it felt bad. But when you're set up, it's so cheap that then your money just kind of like exists there.
As a general, I think it's better to have more economy than less as well, because it's a lot easier to trade out your level 0 economy cards as opposed to having to purchase level 0 economy cards.
This is true.
And alternatively, you can just like buy a stat boosting permanent.
Yeah.
I think in this one, we're going to be grabbing an Inspiring Presence too, because if I am planning on going to Granny level 4, this is kind of like, you know, a little nice with it. She can soak, she can stand back up, become 2 half luckies, which like isn't a bad thing.
It's pretty cool.
I think Darians can also sit in here. Darians have that cool thing with Silas where even if you bring it back, you get the card. So this is going to kind of like be like a temporary Relentless. This also could leave your deck for the Relentless as you upgrade.
Unrelenting.
But the Unrelenting, sorry. But I would, for me, Take Heart becomes Unrelenting as you upgrade. It's just, for Silas, it's a better version of that card. Because, yes, you can bring this back if you do succeed, but then you're like with Silas, you kind of are just accepting in the Mythos phase, I'm going to fail, and that's where you have things that, like, stop that. And then, you know, it's better to just use your Unrelentings to just draw a bunch of cards. Okay, I need 3 more cards for this deck. And I don't really have anything that's, like, jumping out at me as, like, super necessary. So honestly, get the oops in there. I think I am gonna grab 1 guts. Doesn't hurt to have. And then do one more skill. We want a few more.
Stunning
You want
blow
to
is kind of sick.
yeah, that's the one. That stunning blow is really nice. This card is it's grown so much. There was this time where like it was like we
Dirt card,
Yeah.
stay in the vineyard.
yeah.
Trash.
And then it was like Bryn started liking it, and then when I was building my Silas deck for Innsmouth, you're like, we'll put a stunning blow in to make Bryn happy, and then like it's just like
just
always active.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a tank.
Yeah. All right. So this is a Silas skill deck. We are running the emergency cache and then the take hearts as our only economy for this one in terms of resources, because really like once you get the harpoon out, you're kind of just done. Like Madame Lagrange is also cheap. This could be Granny Orn, but I like this Cherish Keepsake, nice and cheap. And then as you get into our card draw doesn't wake up until we get 2 experience in the deck, and I highly recommend picking up this first.
2 experience.
Yeah. So it's very easy to solve once you need it, but you're going to be missing the card draw in the level 0 deck with this guy.
Yeah, in the level 0 deck, it also might feel like the emergency cache is more than you need. That you don't need to be playing that. But if you are looking at upgrading into Granny, you're really going to want it, because 4 resources is a lot more than it seems like.
Or even when you're going to be upgrading into Catastrophe probably. Like
Yeah, if you intend to play that multiple times per game, that's a lot of money.
Yes.
It's multiple times in addition to the other things you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so you're going to be buying things that cost money as you upgrade, and you just want to make sure that the groundwork is there. Okay. Travis, why don't you go next?
Okay.
Are you doing Roland?
Yeah, sure.
Here. You want me to do it, or do you want to do it?
You do it.
Sure.
Okay.
So this is going to be my favorite kind of deck. So we're going to start off with, we're going to start with 2 prepared fours, because we intend to kill monsters. And we're going to need a weapon for that. What weapon we're using, that's a future me's problem. It doesn't really matter which one. We're also going to start off with 2 shortcuts cards, very, very good. And I'm also going to start with 2 emergency caches and 2 stand-togethers, which are just sort of the premier economy options right now. We might end up playing 1 or 2 of the other ones, depending on what we end up playing, but how expensive our deck is. And we do need weapons to kill things, so we can go ahead and put some 45 automatics in there. And gives us 3 weapons. I probably want 1 more. What's it gonna be? It's not gonna be a shake. It can't be.
These are no taboo lists, so it could be.
I don't want it to be.
Got him.
Can you pull up a Chably level 0?
Yeah, of course.
We'll go with a level 0 in Chably, because later we can upgrade that into the blue one heals 4 when you kill someone, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and that can
And
help
you get to
mitigate our
draw,
5
right?
brain. Yeah. We're going to play some Great Wagners to just double down on that ability. Also we're going to throw a couple V-Cops in there as well, because our assets are going to kill themselves. And we do really want that +1 punch in some form to make us have 5 before our weapon. Okay, and now this is the part that I like. It'll put in 2 practice makes perfects, and then we're gonna put in 2 overpowers and 2 vicious blows. And we want to take the initiatives, 2 of them. Can't be bonking our heads on things. Gives me 23 cards. I need 7 more cards for this deck. I'd like to have 1 more skill, at least, for practice makes perfect.
Level 0 leadership. Oh, who said that?
Was it me? Did I say that?
It actually is going to be 2 levels or leaderships, actually. Yeah. Definitely could also just absolutely load up on skills if I felt like it, and play deductions and perceptions as well, and also plan of actions. And then there's just always we need 5 more cards. leadership commits for nothing, or for a while, right?
For a wild base, yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah, throw 2 deductions and 2 perceptions in
My
there as
mouse
well.
died. There we go. Deduction. And what was the other one?
Perception. So these are all practice skills, and looking at it, we can throw our practice makes perfect at whatever test that we want to, because whether it's investigation or a shoot test, because we have deductions, perception, and then take the initiative, and leadership gives us like 8 skills for the investigation, and then the take the initiative, overpower, leadership, and vicious blow gives us 8 skills for the fighting tests. I could trim that a little bit depending on what our teammates are playing, but whatever. Also, having a big pile of skills in this deck is pretty sweet, because our assets cost $1 million money.
Yeah, yeah.
And having our cards not cost $1 million money but still do something is very good. I think for the last things I want in this deck, since we're playing so many skills, we're going to churn through our hand pretty fast. I'm going to want 2 copies of Deep Knowledge, and we're going to cut a card of something else. And I think that I'm going to cut... I'm going to cut one of the stand-togethers. And despite saying that, and like the priority upgrade for this deck is going to be upgrading the 2 leaderships into level 2 leadership, which you commit to a test, ideally that someone else has, and if the test is successful, then the performing investigator and you both gain 2 resources. You can still commit to one of your tests alone, and if it is successful, you gain the 2 resources. But yeah, like we should have, first scenarios are usually pretty soft, and we should be able to just like claw our way through with the big pile of skills we have, at least to get 4 experience and hopefully no trauma. But yeah, so I'd probably look at upgrading those first, and then like the enchanted blades, or enchanted blade.
So this is where it also comes in how, like, going back to what we said earlier, where like how many resource cards do you run? It's hard because as you can see, both Travis and I already in this have like our upgrades are going to be building into that even further. So while in this deck there is really only like 3 cards that actually like get resources here, leadership is going to be building into that in the future.
Yeah, and the reason I decided to cut one of the stand-togethers over the emergency cache actually is because when looking at our assets that we will potentially be playing, we have the 45 automatic that costs 4, we have the 30 special that costs 3, we have the enchanted blade that costs 3, Greek costs 5, and Beacon costs 4. So at the start of the game we can spend 4 money on either Beacon or the automatic, and then emergency cache, it gets us back up to 4 to play the other one. Whereas stand together only gets us there if we're playing one of the 3 cost things. And I mean, like, neither of them obviously get us back up for the 5 for greed, but...
Sick.
Yeah, there's a rolling deck for you.
Yeah. Alright, Bryn.
And now for something completely different.
Yeah, no, this one's gonna be... Alright, who do you want to build?
Let's put together a Safina.
Alright.
We got all the colors in. Good job, boys.
Good job. Look at that.
So the first thing that we got to do here is we got to figure out what exactly we want to be doing. We're gonna play like a real purple heavy deck. We're trying to get most of our work done playing spell events.
Brains.
So the first thing we want is the Holy Rosary, because it just gives us +1 brain, putting us up to 5, which is a fairly comfortable number to be running our tests from.
Oh, doesn't she have a huge deck size too? 30. Oh,
Yeah,
30.
yeah, we need
Just like a couple more.
It is it is huge in that it's like 10 bigger, but we also have like 3 extra.
Yeah. So it's just only 3 more cards
so
we need for the building.
Not,
It's no Patrice.
not really that different. Then after that, we're gonna go take a look at the Mystic cards. Yeah, we're looking for spell events that do things such as knife hands,
Read the signs.
otherwise known as Spectral Razor. Read the signs. We can realistically play like a 1-of Astral Travel. That card is occasionally very good.
Storm of Spirits.
Storm of Spirits is also like occasionally really good. We probably want to play a Quantum Flux. We don't need to. our weakness doesn't remove itself from our deck. It just keeps getting shuffled back in until we have 5, unless we draw it with, less than 5 cards left, which is kind of tough. So the Quantum Flux will help us mitigate that. We don't really want to be drawing this 4 or 5 times a scenario. That's not like a great place to be.
Deny existence.
Yeah, like
Order
we can play Deny Existence. I mean, like, you'd probably be wrong not to. So
Ward of Protection.
I usually don't play Ward of Protection because I don't care about my teammates.
2 more cards to put curse tokens in the bag,
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much, right? But we can put a Ward of Protection into this deck.
They can hang out for now.
It is really neat with Sabina where you can play your Painted Worlds as Ward of Protections and just kind of pretend that the deck doesn't exist.
Yep.
That's pretty solid. We could probably play like an Ethereal form because we really don't want to be engaged with monsters. We really kind of just want to be left alone to do our own thing. We've got a shitload of spells, so we probably also want to play some Arcanine shits.
Oh, that's not what I thought we were going to.
We're also going to need a lot of money because this is very expensive. So we're going to play David Renfields as well because he can make a lot of money.
He can. Also gives you +1 brain,
Yeah.
which is relevant when you're trying to do that for everything.
Yeah, it's pretty relevant. We're also going to play with the Robes of Endless Night. Because the majority of what we're going to do, we're trying to do are spell cards. And this just makes them all cost 1 less. It also gives us some pretty handy meat soak because we do only have 5, so we're a little fragile as far as that goes. We are playing, Ward of Protections and possibly many Deny Existences, so that might not be a problem. Then we get to take a look at some rogue cards here. We're going to play some Faustian Bargains.
Easy choice.
Because it's real tough to not choose this card. Whether you need the money or not, this card is always good. Like you can help float your teammates out of a hole that they might have dug for themselves, or maybe the game made them discard a key asset and they can't afford to replace it. You can fix that. Alternatively, you can just take a big pile of money for yourself and yeah, pretty
This
much.
is mine.
I'll take 5.
We've got a reasonable number of events. We have 15 events, not counting the Painted World. The backside of our card says that we get to start the game with an opening hand of 13, and then we can put up to 5 events underneath our Investigator card and discard down to 8.
So you probably want a third of your deck to be events at least?
Yeah, so typically I figure I want
Slightly more.
13 at least, not counting the Painted Worlds, because I don't actually want to put the Painted World underneath me. Because, what am I going to do? Play the Painted World as the Painted World?
I mean, you can draw them, right?
Oh, can't even place under.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, perfect.
They got you covered on that one. They did you a solid. They said just don't.
We can also play what's it called? Uncage the Soul. Because pretty much everything that we want to do is a spell.
What about the other good purple card, Bryn? The skill.
What?
The skill.
Promise of Power? We're not playing that.
Why not?
Because we don't need it.
It's +4.
To what?
Anything.
Yeah, we don't want to use our foot or our punch or our book for anything.
Oh yeah, like you guys could.
Yeah.
No, don't you understand, Travis? He doesn't care about it.
I don't think you understand. I don't care. Yeah. After that, we could theoretically use another event that gives us money, but we are going to get to see about a third of our deck in our opening hand. So the odds that we'll find a Faustian Bargain or something else to help us, like a David Renfield to help us offset.
It does depend a little bit on the campaign you're playing as well. Like, if there's less agendas with big new numbers, you can expect to get more money off David. Whereas opposed if there's many small agendas, then you're not going to get as much money off from David, and maybe you want emergency caches as well. Is that a fair statement, Bryn?
It's not unfair. I would immediately upgrade them into Easy Marks. It costs 1 XP, you get 3 of them. It's Myriad.
It's an event.
It doesn't actually matter if you get to play a second one or not, because it's already about the same efficiency as emergency cash. But if you do get to play two, you're right in there. And the main thing that we're going to be struggling with here is, like, well, obviously all our cards cost money. We aren't doing anything without money. But secondly, if we don't have any cards, we're not doing anything either. So we're probably going to play like a scroll of prophecy. Just
Or one of? Or both?
we might as well play both of them. We're gonna this deck is going to end up upgrading into a double deck.
Let's go.
So if you want to, yeah,
Excuse me? No. Comma.
yeah. So this is one of the first things that we want to upgrade into. It does cost us 8 experience. We're only allowed to play one of them. However, after we play an event, we get to exhaust it to just do it again. So we can Night Hands twice. We can Faustian Bargain twice. We can discover 4 clues with. Yeah, I mean, like, we can do a lot. We can do a lot of cool stuff with this card. And the Scroll of Prophecies will help us find it, because that is ultimately where we're going to struggle. We don't get to mulligan, so we don't want to just be sitting there and be like, well, does this 13 cards have our double in it? Because if it doesn't, like, well, you know,
Then,
damn it, I guess.
Yeah, you maybe look at Scroll of Prophecies and like read it and be like, this isn't a super great card. Like, it's a fine card, but purple don't draw cards
Yeah,
good.
They don't.
I
They
know
don't.
I said we didn't want it, but we are going to play with Promise of Power. Largely because our primary, like our spell events, Spectral Razor, Read the Signs, and Ethereal Form all use, they're not actually a brain test, it is using a different stat, adding your brain number to it. So we can commit this Promise of Power to any of those things. And along that same line of reasoning, we're also going to play Unexpected Courages. Because, again, we can throw them at that test. After this, we need 2 more cards. This is, you know, we're kind of like in dealer's choice territory here.
All right,
Where
21 bust
it
of
could
this.
be anything. I would probably play Quick Thinkings. Again, you can commit them to any of the tests you're going to try to make. And then, you know, something like that. Something like that. You probably want to buy into something that will also help you, like give you another +1 brain, like maybe the 4 of Cups. Because if you can get up to 6, you can probably pass you have a reasonable chance of passing most tests that you're going to try to make without actually having to throw any of your cards at it.
True.
Yeah. You could also upgrade to like Relic Hunter and then buy some extra accessory slot stuff. You have plenty of good choices.
Crystallized Auto Signs are really good with all the 2 events.
Crystalline Elder Sign is really
Night
good.
Hands.
We can also buy Geese along the same line of thinking. The downside to this is that we have to pick something, like, we don't necessarily have to commit cards.
Yeah.
It really depends what your hand looks like at the time. But getting your stat line up to like 5, 3, 3, 5,
It's pretty nice.
that's pretty strong.
Especially when you're combining 2 of them together and just at 10.
Yeah, pretty much everything you want to do is adding them together. If your team needed more investigating power, you could play some lockpicks. They would do the job for you. You don't want the level 1 ones because you only have 2 books, so you're only investigating at 6, so you are going to break them sometimes. But if you add the lockpicks, you probably also want to add like maybe an emergency cash or 2.
Oh, well, that's this card. You know that one.
Yeah, because
You know that one, you too.
You're gonna need 3.
I
You
hope
need
you
more
know that
money to
one.
get your engine rolling. As it stands, we pretty much need 2, and then whatever we need to pay for the cards we're trying to play. And then,
Upgrading Robes of Endlessly is pretty sick too.
Yeah, upgrading
Makes them
robes.
fast.
It doesn't give them
Oh, no,
fast.
it doesn't provoke
provoke
attacks,
attacks
yeah.
of opportunity, which is not entirely relevant to us. It's not a bad thing, but the real thing that this does is it makes it cost 2 instead of 3.
Yes.
Which means that we only need to play 2 spell events before it's already paid for itself, and then everything after that is great.
You can do some neat stuff with it, like use like astral travel to teleport an enemy away,
Yes, you can.
something like that. But
Yeah.
That's most like the neat things this deck can do with that.
Yeah, pretty close. So yeah, as you can see, we have just for Bryn's, he has some kind of like non-traditional resource gain from this one. David Renfield gains your resources. Don't be scared of David. He's very good.
Yeah, you just kill him when he's...
Faustian's
Just
good.
to update.
Faustian's just busted.
It's
And then
really strong.
Uncaged the Soul as well is acting as some of
Yeah.
his economy in this one.
Yeah, if you ever play your Faustian bargain and give the resources to your blue player, you're never gonna have to deal with a monster ever again.
Yeah.
Because you got a new best friend.
Pull out the Springfield, put the scope on it, and you're like, oh,
Son of a bitch.
no.
Damn it!
All right, well, YouTube, that is kind of just like we just built 3 decks, but I think it's just the best way to show the thought process that goes into how you build the economy part of your deck.
And the other parts too.
Yeah, and the other parts too. You got a nice little like insight into the 3 of us all building some decks here. I love Travis's deck building because he's built so many decks for this show. It's just like this.
Yep.
Just he goes, I have it all from because I've built so many of these decks before. Yeah, so I hope that helped you guys kind of get a grasp on like how you should be looking at the economy part of your deck, because each deck and investigator is ultimately different. So that's not a question that we can just answer by put in 6 economy cards, because with some people they just don't
That's
care.
too many. Some
Yeah.
people, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It also depends like what economy cards they're going to be and
Yes.
what exactly you want to end up doing.
Yeah. So, yeah, just it's one of those things that you're going to learn as you play too, because after you finish a scenario, if you're like, man, my economy really sucked there, you can either fix it in upgrading, or alternatively just know next time, hey, this is something I did wrong while I was deck building. And it's a co-op game. Just build and make mistakes for a bit. Like, that's how like we started when like I just talked about this, how Travis and I, we didn't like Dr. Milan at first.
Yeah, you go watch our old card rating videos. We sound like idiots.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely
Just
true.
garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
One last thing, don't be afraid to spend your XP fixing your deck. If you find something that doesn't work, like you don't have, you're always out of cards and you can't play the game, or you don't have enough resources and you can't play the game. You know, it can be better to spend your XP buying level 0 cards that will help you fix that problem.
or if you're green, buy an adaptable,
Yeah, or if
because
you're
then that
green,
just
get
like
cheap.
it solves it for you.
But it is always better to fix a deck that you've built wrong than to continue hammering away at the same flawed principle. Such as playing a blue character without any way to pay for weapons, or you know, something
I'll
like
just
that.
gain. I can just gain resources
Yeah,
for
yeah,
actions.
right.
Why would I need emergency cash?
Yep.
So
All right.
bear that in mind.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you guys very soon for another ARKHAM video. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good one. And as always, GG's.